All right, thank you. Well, first day of spring. We're all excited about that. Just had a staff meeting, go over the final touches for our practice plans, drills, things that we're going to implement today. We get a chance to get out there and actually get a ball and start playing a little 11 on 11. Up to this point, guys have been working out and meeting with coaches, getting to know each other, getting the systems installed and learning what it is that we're doing, along with just the everyday that we're trying to get implemented with our players on just the mentality and what we're trying to accomplish each and every day. And I think our guys have done a good job of that. I believe our coaches have done a good job of getting the expectations for what it is we want to do each and every day in front of our players, and then making sure that we're doing those things. So, but I thought the strength staff did a great job with our guys up to this point, just getting them prepared, conditioning wise, weight room wise. We had testing this last week, and you saw some of the videos, I'm sure, of the guys with our bench press, hang clean, squat, and get a chance to get in there and just compete and seeing where guys are with their reps in a 1-rep max test, and being able to utilize that now moving forward for the things that we want to do in the weight room and certainly for our summer strength conditioning program. So I do want to say to our strength staff how much I appreciate the work they put in and the time they spent with our players, and I know our guys have appreciated that as well. Our nutrition staff and everybody that's involved in that. So that's led us to this day here. We get a chance to get out there and practice, and today is going to be a helmet practice. We've got 2 of those, and so a lot of individual drills early on, some different circuits and things to try to get as much done as we can early in the practice and get into our offense defense, 11 on 11 against each other, a few special team segments in there, and then hopefully finish out a great day and learn a lot from this first day and what I believe about anything you get a chance to do for the first time. You get one shot to make a first impression. I think that's important for players and coaches and everybody to understand. And this is the first time for this staff, this team, to be together in a real football setting. And so I hope everybody comes out there and puts their best foot forward, and we have a really focused day. We have a day where our effort is high and we get a lot done, where we can build off of that, review it going into the next day, and then continue that on our Wednesday practice that will follow. So we'll have 3 practices during this week, and then 1 on Saturday. So we'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll have a Saturday practice as well, and then we'll regroup and come back with a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule for the following week, and then we'll have a break in between and come back and finish out the second half of spring ball. So really for all the coaches, just a lot of gearing up and excitement, and just looking forward to getting out there and getting a chance to work with these guys. So with that, open up for questions.
Coach, our first question is from Jason Caldwell.
Hey, it's Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers. We know you had Derek Mason, who's a guy that's done a lot of 3-4, 4-3, some different things. What do you foresee kind of the scheme-wise for your guys, and I guess how important is it to be versatile on defense nowadays?
Yeah, well, what you just said, I think a little of everything. I think you're 3 down, 4 down front to see both of those. And like you said, just to be versatile, you got to be able to play both. You got to be able to get in a 3-man front. You got to be able to get into a 4-man front. You got to be able to bring backers and walk them up and be aggressive, short yardage situations, goal line, whatever that is. So to me, we'll see both of those throughout spring. He's going to be the one that's going to be managing that and how much we see as far as the defensive install goes, but we know from an offensive standpoint, we'll see that from our defense. And then the different coverages, right? I think one of them, that everybody has to make sure they practice is man coverage, and you'll see man coverage out there. You'll see the man techniques. That's one where, that just takes time, and that's your one-on-one that you're going to spend probably the majority of your time teaching, is just your man technique and coverages. So we'll certainly work on that, and then there'll be a mixture of it, right? As spring goes on and practices, we start stacking days. You go back and forth. What did we do well? What did we not do well? And I think you'll see a little bit of everything. And that's the beauty of spring. That's for us right now. We're implementing our systems for the first time. We're getting a chance to get out there and actually do them with the players. But also I think spring is a great time to test and tune and try some things and see how it fits with your personnel, see how that fits maybe with something you want to do going into this next season. There is no game, at the end of spring, and you can adjust the way you want to. You can slow it down, speed it up. You can go back and cover another install if you want to. So there's a lot of things that spring ball does as far as just giving you freedom as a coach. But, we want to push and we want to make sure we get in the installs that we have set, especially in the first 7 practices. And then we want to regroup when we have that week in between and come back and say, all right, here's where we are, where are we going? And then continue on with our installation all the way through the spring game and try to get a lot in so these guys have, the foundation of what we're doing, the DNA of what we're doing, and they can prepare and utilize that through the summer.
Next question is from Mark Murphy.
Yeah, Coach, did you have some players who stepped up in the winter workouts as team leaders, and how important is that for culture building and to continue that into the spring training?
Yeah, we did. I think, Owen Papo is a guy that stood out. Zacoby McLean stood out. Bo Nix did a great job. Tank Bigsby, Tayshawn Manning. There were guys, and those are just a few right now. I mean, there was more than that. I think a lot of guys improved. I think a lot of guys pushed themselves and developed. So it wasn't just, a handful of guys. I thought it was more of team-driven when it came to just, the overall improvement. And I would expect that too. There's a new way as far as the training part goes. There's some new things that we did. I think everybody was really trying to make sure that they're doing their best at what it is they were asked to do. And so I thought the attitude and effort of the entire team was very good. Early on, it was challenging, and as they got stronger and got better, it wasn't so much the workouts got easier. I think our players just got better as the workouts went on. And it was good to see guys compete in the testing week. It was good to see guys get in there and, you do a 1 rep max. There's that, just competition amongst yourself that you got to push yourself and you got to get your mind right and you got to, see if you can push that weight. You got support from your teammates around you to help you and provide a little bit of motivation. And all those things happen. So there were more guys than I mentioned, but I think everybody, took the approach of, hey, we're trying to get better. We're trying to push ourselves here. And, we just had very few issues from that standpoint. And we'll see how that translates into practice, right? What's the effort going to look like? What's that mentality as we get out there and we start competing 11 on 11? How are guys going to respond? Are they going to, continue to compete? Or do guys, start to pull themselves back a little bit? We don't know that yet, but we'll see what that looks like as we get into practices. But if there's any indication from how we worked out and how we trained and tested, we should see guys get out there and take that same mentality into the practices of getting better.
Next question is from Christian Clemente.
Yeah, Brian, Brandon Council dealt with an injury towards the end of last year, and then Xavion Capers got hurt in the bowl game. Are either of those guys available for spring practice, and then is there anybody else kind of banged up for spring?
Well, yeah, there are. So Brandon Council, he'll be out. Shedrick Jackson, Brandon's got a shoulder. Shedrick Jackson's a guy that will be out for now. Marco Damio, Zion Puckett, Capers as well will be in that as far as just being limited, out to limited. And then we got a couple limited guys, Amari Harvey and Desmond Tisdale are a couple guys that are limited. So expect those limited guys to get in. They're limited, but they can still practice. They're not going to be in the same contact drills that some of the other players will be in. But our guys that are out, there'll be some things that they can do on the side. There'll be some things they can do in individual. But Brandon will be a guy that's not. He's still healing, through his shoulder. And, we want to get him back in the summertime and hopefully get him full strength and healthy and ready to go. And, as far as spring goes, just with our injuries, we'll always want to do the best we can to limit those. And, things do happen. And so that's why we have a great training staff and why we got to stay focused on our training to try to limit as many injuries as possible. And how we practice is extremely important as a part of that. But these guys that I mentioned here, they're doing a really good job of coming in and taking care of themselves and doing the things they need to. And if we can get a little bit out of them in spring, or get a few things done, we'll try to. And there'll be some guys like Brandon right now that just are not going to be able to do that. But he'll be out there mentally and then focused on what we're doing. He'll be learning, and then he'll get a chance to, when he starts to get some more range of motion in that shoulder and be able to do things, to start doing it on his own and be ready for summer and be able to get a lot of that work in the summertime.
Next is Gianna Hahn.
Hey Coach, Gianna Hahn from AL.com. What have you kind of learned about Bo as you gotten to know him a bit better, and how are you planning to approach that quarterback position as you head into the spring?
Did you ask what I've got to learn about Bo? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, really all those guys, Grant Loy, Bo, Davis, Garnett, Pate, all those guys that are in that room right now, just being around that quarterback group, right? I think Coach Bobo's done a great job with those guys, and obviously get a chance to be around the quarterback room. I enjoy that, and I enjoy just watching these guys, how they prepare themselves, what their demeanor is in the weight room and on the field, and how they operate. Those are things that I've got a chance to see, not just from the quarterback position, but from all the players, and Trey Lindsey in there as well. So I think that group we'll approach it now as far as going out there. There'll be a pecking order in practice, right? There always is. I wouldn't say that we necessarily have a depth chart set. We have a pecking order. Bo will go out there first. Grant will be out there. All right, that will get mixed as we go through practices. Guys will get their shot to run with the ones and twos, or whatever we consider the ones and twos at the time. And what I want to see from that group in particular, I want to see guys prepared every single day. I want to see guys come out there and compete, execute. All right, operate the system. I think that's a big part of what we have to do right now at the quarterback position. We just got to operate every day, and how we do that at that position is really going to lead to, all right, how our offense goes. If we can get that down and feel good about what we're doing at the quarterback position, I think our operation as a whole can improve on the offensive side. So those guys know that. But at the end of the day, today's a fun day for those guys to put the work on the field that they've been doing, and us getting a chance to see these guys go out there and compete, and then we'll see. Right now everybody's competing. Everybody, you come to a spring like this, everybody's at that, and it was always this way, whether you had returning starters or not. That's just been something that I always believe in. You show up in spring, and guys improved from the off season. You want to see what they're able to do, and you want to give everybody an opportunity to go out there and compete and maximize their reps. And then as the practices go on, all right, that pecking order starts to become a depth chart, and you start to get into your level of where these guys are rolling with the ones and the twos a little bit more, and you keep mixing that through those practices.
Next question is from Jordan Hill.
Hey Brian, Jordan Hill of Auburn News. Wanted to ask about Dylan Brooks and Jarquez Hunter, two guys you guys added after Auburn signing day. Just what sort of stood out to you guys through that recruiting process, and what you think they can add going into the fall?
Well, Jarquez, he's just production. Like, look at his numbers, and you just look at what he was able to do. He's put up big numbers. Shows me a lot of consistency, toughness at that position, in particular. Talking with him, very driven, motivated person, and very, in my opinion, outstanding young man that can play that position very well, and he's physical when he does it. So I think, those are things that I really enjoyed about, getting to know him, but also just watching his film, and you can see that he's explosive, fast, and I think he takes pride in playing that position, which you want from those guys in the running back room. And then Dylan Brooks, just as far as you look at his size, his athleticism, you see a guy that can be on the edge there, and I think can be an elite pass rusher, can be an elite player on the edge. But that's all potential right now. He's got to put in the work, and believe, getting to know him, he's got that mental makeup. He's got that drive. He's motivated, wants to be at Auburn, and is going to come in here and understands the expectations. Right? You got to work. You got to develop. You got to do it every single day, because the position that he plays is one of extreme importance, and it's certainly physical, and it's a position where there's no plays off. Right? It's one of those areas where You got to have that type of mentality in order to play that position at a high level. So, but I do like the potential, and I really like him. You know, I really like him as just his mindset and him as a person, and I think he's going to fit really well here with the culture and the attitude that we have on this team.
Next question is from J.G. Tate.
Hey, Coach, it's JG from AuburnSports.com. Question about just the way you set up your practices. Do you like, pace? Do you like to do a lot of hitting? I know you won't today, but when it gets time and everybody's in full pads, do you like a lot of scrimmaging, that kind of stuff? Will you work everybody on the same field, that kind of thing? We
will. So to your same field question, yes, we'll be on the same field, especially early on. All right, it just gives me, and I think everybody, because you don't really have any game planning going on. There's no scout teams. When you're going 11 on 11, it's against each other. And so, the one field is enough for both sides. That changes as you get into the season. You start using scout teams. You need to separate for more space. But we'll be on the same field. The way we practice, in my opinion, is extremely important. We want to keep our guys up. There's different tempos in our practices. There's tempos of where we're always getting to the ball carrier. That will never change. So that always is going to be something we emphasize with our defense. We're always getting to the ball carrier. It's just how we finish on them. Do we finish on them with a tag? Do we finish on them wrapping up? Or do we finish on him with a live tempo? And we'll do some live. We'll have a live period in practice. We'll have scrimmages where we have live periods and scrimmages. So we'll get that work in. And a lot of that in spring, even in fall camp, how much full live you do depends on your depth, right? If you got great depth and you want to go out there and your team knows how to practice, right? And they understand in live, there's still, with your own team, there's still a way to go out there and practice live. And at the end of the day, you want to get everybody to the game. So we'll compete and we'll have those different tempos in there. But what I want to do early on, and what we've talked about as a staff, is just establish our habits in practice, right? How we get to the football, how we get off from the sideline to the field, how do we transition from drill to drill, and really making sure that the expectations of how we practice get installed as much as our systems. And the better we do that, I think the more physical we can be in practice when we want to be. And, that's the beauty of it. When you know how to practice, you can play fast and you can do it in a way where that's going to lead to the type of play you want to make in the game. And you also can practice physical at times where, everybody gets a lot out of it. You get to play the game and simulate it as best you can and still make sure at the end of it you got a team that's learned how to get better at the game of football and is also, ready for the next day's practice as well.
Next is Tom Green.
Hey Brian, Tom Green with AO.com. I know you touched on the quarterbacks, but with Bo in particular, he's going into year 3, his third different offensive coordinator. I just wonder kind of what are the expectations you guys have of him in this spring, especially after he didn't get a chance to have one last year?
I think that's really the question, right, is a lot of us that were a part of teams last year didn't get a spring. And I mentioned this before, but I think spring practices are the most vital practices you can have. Because you have a chance to really just slow it down if you need to, speed it up if you want to. You have an opportunity to just really develop your team in whatever way necessary because you don't have a deadline. You don't have a game at the end of it, right? You can go back and reinstall something. You can slow down in between, when you practice. If you want another day, all right, to recover, you want another day to install something that you don't feel is where it needs to be. And I think that, talking about last year, not having spring practice is crucial, and that's something that's very, especially for a quarterback, very challenging to not be able to do that. So right now we're Bo's at, and going. You said the third offense. I remember myself as when I played, there was 4 different head coaches and 4 different systems and all that, and you understand that the concepts are similar in a lot of offenses, right? There's a lot of the same as names change, maybe the way you read it, maybe the way you do it, and look at it's a little bit different. So for these guys, I always appreciate that, the quarterback position, and for all the players in each side of the ball, that you got to learn something new. And it's a little different language. All right, you got to apply it, and so that takes a lot of time. I think that's underestimated when there's a change and players have to learn something new. That takes a tremendous amount of time to do that, and a lot of energy and a lot of focus and a lot of dedication to have yourself ready. So I don't know what that's going to look like today. I feel like our quarterbacks have done a good job. Coach Bobo's done a good job of getting them prepared. But we're going to see how that looks when we get out there and practice. And my expectations for that group, let's operate. Let's operate from the sideline. Let's get on the field. Let's make sure we go through our process of communication. Let's make sure we do it consistently through practice. And then when we get our chance to go make plays, then for the quarterback position, we want to be accurate. We want to make great decisions. And I think that comes from our preparation and then also just our habits that we're developing out there on the field as we get a chance to practice. So, but the goal right now is to have these practices, right? Is to, number one, have today's and then continue through this spring and not go backwards, hopefully, where we can have our 15 practices and we can get that work in and then we have that film and we have all that to go back and review through the off season or the off time leading into summer, and then to build from that into our summer plan that we have into fall camp and then into the season eventually.
Next is Bill Cameron.
Coach Bill Cameron from The Drive on ESPN 106.7. You've got a really deep tight end room. If you would talk about your philosophy about using the tight end, and do you see the group sort of shaking out as some more traditional tight ends, others maybe more H-back and possibly even fullback?
Well, I do, yeah. For that, I do see as, if you have your more in-line guy, off-the-line guy, your fullback type tight ends in there, and I don't know the answer to that yet until we get to see him. All right, but that's typically been a way that we've had in this offense, our tight end set up. Guys are able to do those things, and some better than others. Right, the fullback position, that's really one of those positions that you don't see very often anymore, but very effective when you do. You go watch some of the teams in the NFL that have really good fullbacks. They make a huge impact on the game. They're able to do things that you just don't see a lot of. And they're usually physical players and really good leaders on the team. They're guys that go hard and probably the glue of the team. And I feel like that with our tight ends. We got a good group of tight ends. I've got a chance to see those guys work out, run, and do some of the conditioning. And I know they're picking up on the offense. I know they're picking up on the things that position requires in our system. And now today we'll get a chance to see that, just guys moving around, how they block, how they catch. How they operate in our system, and we will have a couple tight ends on the field, throughout our first few practices and all that. So you're going to see guys out there, and we're going to have those guys, doing multiple things, and how they operate that will kind of determine, where we go in that second half of spring and what that continuation of that personnel or that position group looks like as we move forward.
Coach, I wanted to ask quickly, is John Samuel going to be able to go through any of the spring?
Yeah, he will. He'll go through some spring. He's playing baseball, obviously, and I think I really appreciate how he's handled that, and Coach Thompson as well, and just the back and forth. He's been training with us at times. He's had games, and so he's working. That's one thing. I mean, the one thing about John Samuel, he works. All right, and every chance he gets, if he can be at a morning run, he will. If he can be in an afternoon opportunity where we're out there on the field conditioning, he'll try to be around. He's obviously got baseball, and that's a part of it. So we'll work through what that looks like in the spring and how we manage all that. But we'll get a chance to get some work in with him and then find out kind of how he fits in and let him continue with his baseball and hopefully that goes well for him and their season continues to be successful.
Brian Matthews.
Yes, Coach Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. Thanks for speaking to us. Just want to ask you about your tackle situation. How do you feel about going in the spring? And do you have some guys that can help you there, or do you think you might have to reach to the portal a little bit later?
No, I think we have some guys. I mean, we got guys that can help us. Really with the O-line, I mean, you're trying to look at your best five, right? And we're not at our best five right now. We're going to see with the amount of players that we have at the O-line position, go out there and do our individual drills, put them through all the, what tackles would do, guards would do. You have your center positions a little bit different, but all those players, you look at that tackle position, who's got the length to play tackle, all right? But at the same time, we just got to see these guys get out there and get on a board and get some one-on-ones going and come off the ball and strike. And then we'll start to move around and kind of play with, the first 5 guys in there and how that looks, and then start to work with our depth that we do have. We do have to continue to keep recruiting the O-line. All right, that even regardless of what it looks like coming out of spring and where we are, we got to continue to keep developing our O-line. We got to continue to keep recruiting the O-line and create some separation, just in years. We got some guys in that junior class that are stacked up. So we're deep in the junior class, but we got to create some separation in there and some future development just at the O-line position and the tackle position in particular. All right, is an area that we got to stay focused on in recruiting.
We got time for a few more follow-ups. The first one will be from Mark Murphy.
Yeah, could you talk about, you got a lot of different guys to look at on the defensive front. Is this a spring where you might look at guys at 1 or 2 or 3 different spots up there?
Yes, yeah, I do, and I don't know to answer that, who those guys are right now, but there's going to be, if we continue through spring and everybody, we stay healthy, all right, we're able to have, the amount of practices that we're allotted. You're going to see a couple changes in there. You're going to see some guys move a little bit inside and outside. You want to see some guys, there's going to be some guys that emerge as rushers and guys that can come in certain packages and play inside and create some speed and some different looks. And there's also going to be probably times too where there's a guy out and you got to put somebody in at a different position. You're going to see how that works. And I believe for all those guys up front, your nose position, kind of those interior guys, and especially your nose and kind of a zero nose look, they're pretty specific to what they do. But the other positions now is, you're getting guys on the tackles, you're getting guys on the edges. I think you can move guys around a little bit in some of those packages. And I'm sure our defense will come up with a few wrinkles that they want to work on and they want to try, that will have packages of certain players that necessarily aren't, edge guys when they're in a 4-down look, but are edge guys in this particular package of plays. And that becomes the fun part when you're able to take some of your personnel, do some of those things, allow guys a chance to play a little bit different position, but also utilize their skill in some of those areas. And, I'm sure that will happen. I don't know what that looks like right now, but I see that coming. And I see that position, just like the O-line, you kind of move some guys around and you allow those guys a chance to play several positions, or a couple positions, I should say, on the defensive line.
Thanks.
Got time for 2 more. Next is J.G. Tate.
Yeah, I asked you earlier, Brian, about the one one field philosophy for practice. If you had a choice on a pretty sunny day, are you going to go inside or are you going to go outside? I know it's kind of trivial, but it's important to me.
Yeah, we'll be outside. Yeah, we'll be outside, and the goal is to be outside. We'll certainly use the indoor, and I think the nice thing about the setup here is you have the 2 fields right by each other. You have 3 fields right next to each other, which creates an opportunity for us to get in and out with no wasted time. And that's one of the purposes behind being on one field is you want to try to be as efficient as you can with your team and transition from drill to drill. But no, I'm an outside guy. I prefer to be outside, and at times there'll be where the defensive backs need to go in there and get some long ball work and all that. They'll transfer into the indoor or outdoor depending on where we are, and give our guys a chance to go work some of those things. But wherever we're at, we'll get some work on that one field and try to be as efficient as we can.
Our last one, Coach, is from Jason Caldwell.
Brian, you talked about guys not having spring, but a couple of junior college guys last year, Killian Zier and Brendan Coffey, didn't even have a winter conditioning. How much have you seen out of those guys in terms of growth because of being able to go in the weight room and stuff?
Well, I think with Killian for sure, Brandon Brendan, both those guys, they competed. Coffey competed well, especially in our squats and the things I got a chance to see him do. But you said it. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to train. You got to train to play this game, and so you got to be able to get in the weight room and condition, and you've got to be able to lift, and you've got to prepare your body to go play. You got to practice, in order to get better at the game. And there's really the only way to improve at anything is to go out there and actually do it. And so not having a chance to train, not having a chance for spring practices, and I think that was something that affected a lot of teams this last year. And I know right now there's a lot of teams that they're already in spring practice. There's teams that are getting ready for spring practice. And every coach and every player in America right now is as happy as can be to go out there and compete and get these practices in. And I know everybody's keeping their fingers crossed that we stay healthy, all right, our community stay healthy. You know, we continue to go on an upward trend, all right, in our country, you know, with COVID and everybody getting back to some normalcy. And that does include, all right, practice and football in springtime and all that for programs. And, you know, that's the goal. So this work in the weight room, the work that we're going to get on the field, it is critical, it is vital, and it is something that I know everybody's looking forward to. So, you know, it's going to be, today's going to be a good day. I mean, that's the one I know we're going to get. We're going to get today in, and we're going to have a chance to go out there and compete and see a lot of things. And I think we'll leave that field, everybody, you know, I hopefully enthusiastic about just being out there and getting a chance to do this, and with a lot of information too. As we have, you know, we kind of take today and we have a day in between. We really get to dive into that. We get to look at, all right, where are we at? And then start making some of the decisions like you guys are asking, you know, what are we doing here? What are we doing there? We get a chance to really work through that before we get into our Wednesday practice. And then as that continues, every practice, every day in between, you know, it's really that same model. This is what we're doing, how are we getting better, and how do we maximize every practice that we got.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you all. War Eagle.